Hi, my name is TJ Pempel. I'm a professor of political science at the University of California, Berkeley, and I was a participant in the project on the drivers of global change. My focus was on East Asian multilateralism and the linkage between that multilateralism and the global liberal order. And I basically want to make 4 points. The first of these is that East Asian countries, for the most part, saw multilateralism in the context of engaging with existing global institutions, the United Nations, the IMF, the World Bank, the GATT trading system, etc. And all of that engagement spurred the incredible economic success across the region that led to what many called the East Asian economic miracle, and it included pulling in previously hostile countries like China and Vietnam into that same global order. The second point, though, is that with the economic success of East Asia and the Asian financial crisis of 1997-98, a number of East Asian countries began to decide that many of the multilateral institutions that had long been their favorites were no longer operating in congruence with their own economic development plans. So many of them moved toward debt swap agreements to try and relieve the dangers of a repeat of the financial crisis, creating Asian bond markets to allow for infrastructure investment that was basically decoupled from the IMF, from the World Bank conditionalities and the like, and that would allow East Asian countries to use their own capital to support infrastructure development across the rest of the region. The third point is that with the global financial crisis of 2008-2009, East Asia pulled further away in the context of the United States and Western Europe losing much of the credibility that they had once had for their financial institutions, for their financial system. And East Asia began to engage much more fully in trade agreements that were designed to offset the failure of the Doha round and to create regional institutions, free trade agreements on a bilateral, unilateral, multilateral basis, and also starting the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which originally included the United States and which, in the aftermath of the Trump administration, left the United States out of TPP, but the remaining 11 countries, led by Japan and Australia, moved to create a substitute, the CPTPP 11 countries, and as well, Indonesia and China and a number of other East Asian countries created RCEP, Regional Cooperation Economic Partnership, so that now we're seeing a number of decouplings taking place in the trade arrangements within East Asia from that of the United States and Western Europe and the global liberal order. And the last point I want to make simply is that it is really in many respects the United States that is now moving away from that global order, or the global order that it had helped put in place as a consequence of the Trump administration, but also the Biden administration's efforts to decouple economically from China and to keep in place the tariffs that were put in by the Trump administration. Meanwhile, many of the East Asian countries have engaged in free trade pacts with Western Europe, so we now see a situation in which it is really Western Europe and many of the countries of East Asia that are pulling in the direction of support for the global liberal order and freer trade, easier investments cross-border, and it in many ways is the failure of the United States to meet up to these demands that has left the global liberal order in serious disarray.